Good afternoon. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole Council agenda. I will now call to order the July 24th meeting of the Committee of the Whole. Are there any declarations of interest from members of Council? Councillor Johns, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Two of them. I-1, I own a company that owns property within the Mount Albert Downtown Revitalization Area. And then for I-2, again, I own a company that owns property within the revitalization area and not able to participate in discussions surrounding similarities with partial funding sources as it relates to EPW 2025-14 and 15. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. I will now share our land acknowledgement statement. The Town of East Gwillimbury recognizes, let's back this up. The Town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaty First Nations and other Indigenous peoples. And on behalf of Council, I thank them for sharing this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as East Gwillimbury's closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and the waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. Item D, do we have any community announcements at this time? Go ahead, Councillor Crothers.
Thank you. I just wanted to draw attention to our new flag. I don't believe that we've had meetings before this week with our new flag. We have the Georgina First Nations flag now flying proudly in our boardroom, and I just wanted to draw attention to that and thank the staff who made that possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very exciting to have that with us. Thank you. Councillor, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Mayor. There are two exciting events happening next week. The last opportunity to enjoy the free EG Music Night is taking place on Tuesday between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. And the theme next week is Epic Eagles. There'll be food and beverage vendors there, local ones. So we encourage everybody to come out and enjoy the last free EG Music Night right here at the Civic Center on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, the Engineering and Public Works Department is putting on a barbecue for the Yonge Street Community Revitalization in Anchor Park in Holland Landing. So we thank the department for organizing that celebration of the revitalization of the Yonge Street and the barbecue that will be happening next Wednesday, July 30th, between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Thank you very much. Any other members at this time? I will move along. Before we begin, I will quickly go over a few reminders for today's deputations. Deputants are asked to come to the lectern, speak clearly into the microphone, and please introduce yourself and advise if you are here on your own or representing someone else. You will have 5 minutes to speak, not including any questions from Council. I will provide a quick timing reminder as you approach the 5-minute mark, and I hope that works for you. Please ensure your comments stay focused on the topic you outlined in your deputation request form. We ask that everyone to maintain respect and decorum. Disruptive or inappropriate behavior will be addressed, and if needed, I may issue a warning or ask someone to leave. We are at our first deputation on the agenda. It is Jay Stanley making a deputation to committee regarding J1 Development Services Report DS2025-23 Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application Michael Smith, Planning Consultants 54 Bridle Path. And this is in relation to item J1. Welcome. Good to have you with us today.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and councillors. My name is Jan Stanley, and I live at 18 Bridle Path, a couple of doors down from 54 Bridle Path. In regard to the rezoning application for 54 Bridle Path, I think there are several issues to consider, including the following. One, should the owners of 54 Bridle Path be granted a zoning change, given that they built their so-called vacation cabin without a permit and are now asking for what amounts to forgiveness? In addition, they've been rather dismissive of other permits and regulations too, including, for example, fire permits and Airbnb rules. 2, can the neighbors and council trust that the owners of 54 Bridle Path will abide by the conditions to be agreed to by the site plan agreement? Neighbors on our street have had significant concerns about the way they have run their property in the past. Among these concerns are excessive noise, the risk of fires, trespassers on neighboring properties, traffic concerns, and even large animals escaping from their property onto neighboring properties. Number 3, the owners of 15 Bridle Path run, or at least are affiliated with, a business called Global Glamping. Jenny McCabe, one of the 2 owners of 54 Bridle Path, is the COO of the company. 54 Bridle Path is listed on their website as case study number 3 and is referred to as East Gwillimbury Glamping Resort. The owners also call their property the Tega, a resort-sounding name. Is it appropriate to have this sort of business model for a bed and breakfast on our rural residential street, especially in our Oak Ridges Moraine Core zone? Lastly, some neighbors are concerned that a change in the zoning for 54 Bridle Path, which will permit an additional bed and breakfast in the building outside their primary dwelling, could result in similar requests for zoning changes by other neighbors or new buyers. This could result in similar problems once again, including noise, fire risk, privacy, trespassers, among other concerns. We could see a significant change in the character of our street, depending upon what changes occur. I have submitted a letter to you, Madam Mayor and councillors, that outlines these and some other concerns. I thank you for considering these issues in your deliberations about the possible rezoning of 54 Bridle Path. Again, thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Madam Mayor, since we have a number of people here about this item and the staff report isn't appearing till later in the agenda, I'm wondering if we can move it up. I know we have some guests here for presentations, but perhaps we could do it right after presentations. So there's a lot on our agenda today. I wouldn't want them waiting that long.
Thank you. I'm seeing nods from members of council, so we'll move ahead shortly. Councillor Leahy, did you have a question at this time?
Through you, Madam Mayor, not at this time. I was going to move to receive the presentation. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Leahy has moved this motion, and I need a seconder at this time. No, don't need a seconder. Be it resolved that the deputation made by Jay Stanley regarding J1 Development Services Report DS202523 zoning bylaw amendment application, Michael Smith Planning Consultants, 54 Bridle Path, be received. All those in favor? And that is carried. We are at item 2, and that is L. Stanley making a deputation to committee regarding J1 Development Services Report DS202523 zoning bylaw amendment application, Michael Smith Planning Consultants, 54 Bridle Path, and this is relation to the J1 item. Welcome, good to have you with us today.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of council. The first time I was here, I was extremely nervous.
Don't be, we're all human beings at the same time.
I'm not used to speaking in front of a bunch of people, smart people.
Could
Okay.
you pull your microphone up just a little closer
sure.
so we can hear? We don't want to miss anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm reading this because, to my mind, every word is important and critical here, so bear with me. This is a very difficult decision to make. Why? Councillor Terry Foster had a brilliant insight in the March 18 meeting. This is a great business idea, but in the wrong place. I'm assuming that moving the resort is not feasible. So the question is, can it be made to work where it is? That means they have their business, and we, the neighbors, have our community as we want it. The only way I can think of doing this is that the resort be made invisible to the community. This is fair. They get to run the resort, but what do the neighbors get in return? We get to have our community as we want it. So what does invisibility mean? It implies that all risk of fire is removed. And I might add that one way to do that, if they don't just get rid of the fire pits, if they have fires, put an ember screen over it so ash can't fly off. There is no noise beyond the boundary of the resort, and there is absolutely no trespassing. There are other issues like traffic, but they are not as important as I see it. QED. If there's any questions that
Thank you. Questions of our presenter? I'm not seeing any.
Happy to move.
Thank you
Happy to
very
move.
much. Councillor Crone?
I should note, Madam Mayor, it's not major, happy to move this, but just in the minutes, or in the agenda rather, it says be it resolved the deputation made by Jay. It should be L. Stanley. It's just a slight typo.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. Thank you for your presentation. We'll move along to all. Yes. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We will move to item 3, and that's Ann Zielinski making a deputation to committee regarding item J1, Development Services Report, DS 202523, zoning bylaw amendment application, Michael Smith, Planning Consultants, 54 Bridle Path, and this is in relation to item J. Welcome, good to have you with us today.
Hey, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Council, and Planning staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Noah, and I'm here on behalf of my family, especially my parents who live across from 54 Bridle Path. First, I want to say that I understand the situation can't be easy for anybody. It must be frustrating to purchase a property with plans to open a campsite and then be met with opposition. This isn't something we wanted either. We're not looking to attack our neighbors. We truly wish that this could have been resolved before the campsite opened in a way where everyone could be happy. At the same time, what's happening across the road has had a real impact on my family, and I feel it's important to express that. My parents moved here to enjoy a peaceful rural retirement. They've put their entire life savings into this house, but in the summer especially, there's been ongoing noise and activity, not just on the weekends, but throughout the week as well. The main recreation area for the guests to eat, drink, and have campfires is across the road from our house, just 77 meters from my parents' bedroom window. And while the 77 meters might not sound like a lot on paper, in the quiet of the country with little tree cover and no barriers, you hear everything and sound carries very clearly, especially at night. I'm sure this was an oversight and not intentional when setting up the recreation area, but unfortunately it's become a major issue for us, and as we are the closest neighbors to it. Unlike the other homes in the area, our house faces north-south, so our front porch and backyard directly face the guest area and the road with no forest buffer, unlike the other properties. We just have a thin row of narrow trees and then the road. In the fall and winter and early spring, when the trees are bare, we can see straight through. And we're not trying to nitpick, it's just difficult to feel at ease in your house when you're constantly overhearing conversations, laughter, or music. The kind of background noise just doesn't belong in the country. One of the other bigger concerns we also have is just clarity moving forward around who will actually be managing the property long term. My parents see someone arriving most mornings. Is he the same person who wants to introduce himself as the property manager? That interaction left us wondering if the owners are intending to live there full time, or what is this going to look in a year from now? Who will be accountable on site, and will this still be owner managed, or will this function as a remotely run operation? We think that this distinction matters. Again, we're not here to stand in the way of anyone's dream, but we're also trying to protect our own, which is simply to enjoy our home quietly as it was meant to be. For us, it feels like a zero-sum game where others will gain, but we only lose. If this project is going to move forward, we hope that serious thought is given to how it affects the people closest, and serious consideration is given to moving the recreation area behind the house so that we are no longer impacted by it. Not everyone is being impacted equally, and we just want to be acknowledged in the process. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Questions from members of committee? I'm not seeing it this time. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Roy D. Clemente, be it resolved that the presentation made by T. Hurdle, Manager of Service Planning, York Region, no, I'm sorry, I have the wrong one. Be it resolved that the deputation made by N. Zelinski regarding item J1, Development Services Report DS 2025-23, zoning bylaw amendment application, Michael Smith Planning Consultants, 54 Bridle Pathway be received. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. We are at item F, and this is a presentation. Do we have T. Hurtel? Welcome. Good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
And I'll just finish your title off, Manager of Service Planning, York Region Transit, making a presentation to committee regarding the 2026 York Region Transit Plan within the town of East Gwillimbury. Always good news story.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of council, for having me back again this year. So this year, I'm back a little bit early, usually here in the fall, but that is because we have some news to share on our service plans for the HALP, which will be opening in the fall. So if we just jump to the next slide, please. Okay, sorry, back one. That's it, thank you very much. So I'll start off by highlighting the agenda for today. I am gonna start off with what our 2025 service plans are for the town of East Gwillimbury, and that's namely surrounding the HALP, the Health and Active Living Plaza. Then I'll get into the actual 2026 plan, starting with the annual transit plan cycle, the stakeholder consultations and public consultations that we did, including here in the town, what we heard, the service improvements we're going to be proposing, and then getting you some insight into our 2026 to 2030 business plan, which we're working on right now and hoping to finalize soon. That will guide transit service over the next 5 years. Followed by always exciting topic, ridership trends, and then next steps. So next slide, please. Thank you very much. So this is a map that we show every year. It's an outline of transit services in the town. It is quite small, I apologize for that, but the town is quite large. I would like to call out Route 50 specifically. It doesn't show up too well here, but it is in purple, and we have identified the loop, which I'll get into on the next slide. that takes the route around the Health and Active Living Plaza. The other routes are the other existing services in the town. We jump to the next slide. So the Health and Active Living Plaza, first of all, I'd like to thank town staff for collaborating with YRT on this initiative in the York region overall. This is a monumental facility, and we're happy to be a part of that. So starting August 31st, just to cover off first our fixed route service, starting August 31st, we will start diverting our Route 50, which is what I like to call the star route of the North in York region, goes from Newmarket Terminal all the way up to Sutton through the town. We will be diverting that route in along Jim Mortson Drive, bringing people closer to the HALP, being able to access it off of Jim Mortson Drive. The blue spots there are the stops. There's a few that are either relocated because of the diversion, and there's a couple new ones as well. Specifically, the one at Black Lotus Drive, which is a stop-controlled intersection, and then the one at Petal Avenue as well, and we understand there'll be a crosswalk going in there to help people get across to the stop. Once development occurs in the northern part of the loop, and should the pilot be successful, we can put in a stop there as well on the north end of the event street that's going to be going in. I'll call out the signalization as well that is currently under construction and should be ready by the time the route starts operating, but certainly before the HALP opens. That will be on the north leg of Jim Mortson Drive and Highway Leslie Street, not only serving safe access for our bus route to make that left out onto Leslie, but also the growing community that's developing around it. If you jump to the next slide, please. So our on-request services, and as you all know, on-request is a big part of the transit service offering in the town of East Gwillimbury. The photo here shows the variety of vehicles that we have. All three types of on-request services currently already serve the HALP, actually. On-request North Central being one of them. It's the transit service that's available to everyone. Every address in East Gwillimbury has access to transit through on-request North Central 7 days a week. And for residents that are living in the Holland Landing, Mount Albert area, and the east and west sides of the town, that's the service that will be available to get people to and from the HALP. On-request 65 plus, which is our senior service, is also available. It's available for seniors within 5 kilometer rides. That's available 7:30 to 3 p.m. on weekdays. And finally, Mobility on-request paratransit is our accessible transit service, eligibility based, and that's available region-wide for any trip distances that are required. So all three of these services now currently serve that area. If we jump to the next slide, I can show a rendering that town staff was nice enough to provide me. And if I can get my trusty little pointer to work, yeah. Oh, it's not too great. But if we jump to the next slide. So there's the HALP, and right there where I'm pointing there, as I understand, is a layover bays that are going to be provided near the main entrance of the HALP. So our on-request vehicles can actually come in there and stop there and pick up passengers and drop off passengers there, every type of them. While the Route 50 will be doing the loop around Jim Mortson Drive, bringing people closer to the HALP, either accessing the HALP from this location in the back doors or up at Petal Avenue using the pedestrian connection there. Jump to the next slide, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we're just experiencing some slowness with the system, so just bear with us. It is going to the next slide. It's just taking some time.
No worries. There we go. Oh, back one. Perfect. So I did want to talk about public outreach and communication, and again, commend the town for working with us on this. That's Marion Jordan there at the Eco Fair back in April. In fact, Jordan I saw him earlier, he's out setting up for the farmers market that you have today as well. But there's a number of events that we've already attended. We've really put a focus on the town this year because of the HALP opening and try to get word out there of the service changes that we're making and hoping to get people on it. So this slide includes all the events that we've attended, the various communications tactics that we've already done and what we're also planning to do. And I'll highlight the fact that we have been invited to represent to have a booth at the grand opening event as well, which YRT staff are more than happy to do. The board period communication process at the bottom there, that's fancy transit language for our service changes. We do typical communications about all of our service changes. For this one specifically, we'll be doing mail outs in the direct community to every address as well. Next slide, please. And I want to highlight two programs that we have at YRT as they relate to the HALP. So the Transit Assistance Program is YRT's half-price transit program based on eligibility criteria for low-income people. They're specifically available for adults 18 to 64 years old. It's based on notice of tax income assessment, but it is shareable within the family. So if someone gets it, they can give it to their youth can use it to go work at the HALP, for example. Next slide, please. Another one is travel training, and we are working with Rhonda and her team to make sure that staff that are going to be working at the HALP or using the HALP get trained on transit service, not only for them to be able to use themselves, but for them to be able to possibly talk to customers and tell them how to use it as well, and the services that are available. It's a service that's available to anyone. We will take individuals on our transit system, show them how to ride transit, how to pay their fare, but it's great for larger groups, for newcomers, for people that are new to transit, seniors groups, and we've done a number of those as well here in the town. Jump ahead to the next slide, please. Okay, so now to the 2026 plan. This is our annual plan cycle. This is a slide I have every year, and it's a circle because it never ends. As we finish up one plan, we're already getting into the next year's plan. So we're in the third quarter. We're refining our service changes based on feedback we heard from our spring consultations, and we're doing our local council presentations currently, starting with East Gwillimbury today. Jump to the next slide, please. So, back one. So this is a summary of the stakeholder and public consultations as it relates to the town. We met with town staff back on March 5th, had some great discussions about the HALP and other things. We attended two events at the Family Fun Day that the York Region runs, and also at the Ross Family Complex as well. But we also distributed marketing materials to various other town facilities as well for people to take and have their say on transit for 2026. Jump to the next slide, please. So the feedback that we received, the most prevalent feedback, it is a summary as seen on the screen now. There is support for earlier weekend service on Route 50. I should have mentioned this as it relates to the HALP. We will be expanding on August 31st the Spanish service on Route 50 to cover all the HALP hours on weekdays and weekends. We're also improving frequency by nominal means, but that helps as well. There was requests for later evening service on Route 50. There was requests for Route 50 to divert to East Gwillimbury GO Station. And of course, and we've all heard this before, and we've been talking about it for a few years now, the connection between Newmarket and Mount Albert. We've heard requests to bring back the old Route 58. So that's something we'll be looking at. Next slide, please. So for 2026, our service plans are shown there, and interestingly enough, both of these are being implemented in August of this year. So they're being fast-tracked. The Route 50 specifically to help the opening of the HALP, And Route 54 as well, based on need and our ability to do it because it's midday service frequency improvements. That route accesses East Gwillimbury GO Station, so that's helpful too. And in the fall, we will be putting in a bus shelter. There's one in the southbound direction just outside council chambers here. There'll be one going in on the northbound direction as well. Jump to the next slide, please. So I mentioned the business plan. This is some early insights into what we're working on. These are our key priority areas that we're going to be looking at. That's going to be driving the decisions and the programs we're going to be putting in the business plan. It's going to inform transit service and other YRT programs for the next 5 years. Next slide, please. So ridership, this is a slide I have every year. This year, we are starting to see ridership growth level off. This is not a YRT-specific phenomenon. This is a transit industry-specific phenomenon. We actually are starting to level off a little bit later, actually, than a lot of our peers. The good news is East Gwillimbury specifically still grew at 8% year over year for the year-to-date 2025 versus 2024, which is above the system average of 4%. And a lot of that is driven by the on-request ridership growth. Continue to the next slide, please. And next steps. So after going through the local council presentations in the fall in Q2 and Q3, we will be taking the annual plan to regional council as part of the regional operating budget and hopefully get approval there for a 2026 service plan. We will finalize the document, put it up online in the winter time for everyone to see. And in the fall, we'll actually start, and we kind of already are, things we can't put into 2026 already because we can't fit it. We're starting to plan for 2027 for the next annual plan. We'll be back to present to you about that in a year's time. And I believe that's it. It was just a thank you slide. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much. Wonderful. It makes a huge difference in our communities, being able to move around the community. Questions from members of council? Councillor Crothers, go ahead, please.
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation and the increased service. It's very helpful. And all the presentations you've done on demand has helped get that word out. I'm looking at the slide that's 2026 service improvements in the town of East Gwillimbury. And you've gone through 50, but 54 Bayview, from what I can see on the map, that's servicing Newmarket, taking them to the EG GO station. So that's not an improvement for EG.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I could clarify. So I guess we put it in there because the East Gwillimbury GO station is within East Gwillimbury. The other thing I'll highlight is that with our on-request service, the way it works is if there's a transfer to a fixed route available, it will suggest that transfer to the user. And there are some trip plans for people coming from the east, specifically the east, that may be suggested to use Route 50 to connect into Newmarket and then go up Route 50 if there's a connection being requested to East Gwillimbury GO station. Sometimes it will give a direct trip. Yeah.
I mean, 54, okay. The bus in the picture says Bayview to Yonge Street, but I didn't see that on the map. It doesn't go to Yonge Street in East Gwillimbury, does it?
No, that you're right, that it does connect to Yonge Street and Newmarket specifically.
Okay.
Yes.
So for East Gwillimbury, we're just getting the one improvement, the 50.
The Route 50, yes.
Thank
Through
you.
you, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Councillor Crone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to our presenter, thank you so much for coming out today and sharing these updates. And I'll start off with a compliment saying that I think this term of council, YRT has been very responsive and open to feedback, and you're certainly listening, and I truly appreciate that. So, and I know the residents do as well. I am concerned that we're building this beautiful health and active living plaza. And while I applaud you for making changes to the Route 50 and doing that and being able to drop people off there, it could be argued that the folks that live in Newmarket or Georgina actually have access to more regularly scheduled bus service to our help than the residents of Mount Albert, because Mount Albert is solely on the on-demand system. And I know we've had very good take-up on the on-demand. I have to wonder if there's, you know, with the volume there, is there not enough to make the case to bring back, you know, a regularly scheduled bus service? I throw that out there because I would like to have the residents of Mount Albert have you know, the same sort of access that other residents of East Gwillimbury and even the rest of York Region have access to help. So I throw that out there. I know you listen. I know you take feedback. Please take that back with you and consider what can be done to strengthen the services to Mount Albert. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Would you like to comment?
Sure, if you don't mind, thank you.
Yes,
Through you,
please.
Madam Mayor. So our on-request 5-year plan, which we just finalized, does give some guidance to staff on when, and some of the considerations when upgrading from an on-request service to a fixed route. We will certainly look at it when the HALP opens up, and we're hoping it becomes a node for public transit activity for on-request as well as Route 50. But that's definitely something we're going to be looking at. Our technology is always improving. We're getting the ability now to see origin-destination pairs on our on-request service, and so that's something we'll definitely be looking at.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I forgot to mention my first comment. You're looking at reinstating Route 58 to the 404. I will reiterate that from some of my residents. That would be a very big deal. Thank you.
Would you like to comment to that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we're looking at it, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Mr. Hertel. Again, thank you very much, and it's obvious that you are listening, and you're, at the very least, you're considering the things that we're suggesting and requesting. For me, I, like Councillor Crone, would like to hear more about the metrics. Maybe when you come back next year, you can talk to us about the metrics of what's happening with the on-demand service. So rather than simply the ridership on the bus services, but so that we can understand where it's at, and then we can help advocate for either increased usage or that fixed route. I did also want to reiterate Councillor Carruthers' concerns about Route 54, which is Bayview. It starts in East Gwillimbury at the GO station, but takes you, it actually serves the Aurora GO station and takes you down to Wellington and Yonge. So that's convenient for people who want to ride within the N6, but as the mother of teens, also known as dragons, they want to go further. They want to access the GO station, they want to access Metrolinx, and they want to go downtown. And it is, maybe you can, I'm going to be sending them to the travel training, but being able to access the Metrolinx network, whether it's the Aurora station or the East Gwillimbury station or the Newmarket terminal, whatever it is, they need to be able to get outside of Northern York Region. And I think that's something that I will hope that you take back as well. Again, really delighted to hear about the improvements that you're making for the Health and Active Living Plaza. And again, you know, that reiterating that request for, and I think I've said it repeatedly, I think every year I say it, is please find a way to serve the north heading into that GO station, because that's also helping Georgina residents also access the same, they have the same issues that our residents do. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and I also wanted to acknowledge, I think it was Councillor John's idea that he advocated for the additional bus shelter just outside here on Leslie Street, and I just wanted to recognize those efforts and appreciate that on behalf of the residents who are using this as a node for on-demand and for Route 50. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Leahy, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Mayor. I want to congratulate you on, I will reiterate what my colleagues have said, that I see in your presentation today that there's been an increase in reflection on the part of YRT, that you are listening, that you are responding to our feedback, and so I'm very grateful for that, and we do see that improvements are being made. And so thank you very much for that, and I know Jordan by name now, because because he's been everywhere with his booth at local events here in EG. And so I think it's another demonstration that you are very involved, because we know you by your first names now, and we consider you our partners in improving transit in East Gwillimbury. So I wanted to raise a question that I was speaking with residents of Mount Albert specifically, and parents who would like more information on how their children, if they are under the age of 18, how they are going to get to the Health and Active Living Plaza. And so you have spoken to the educational efforts that you're going to put forward in all different forms of media, which is welcomed, and paper as well as digital and signs, etc. But if you had a child in Mount Albert, what would you tell a parent? Because I'm thinking myself, if I wouldn't want to send my child on their bicycle, going on Davis Drive, which is treacherous, and to get to Leslie in order to get to a bus station to get to the Health and Active Living Plaza. So what do you suggest to parents with children under the age of 18?
Great question through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. So I would suggest that the parents and the children download the On Request app. Children are very tech savvy. They probably enjoy playing around with it and testing it out. Depending on where they're specifically coming from, the time of day and the service that's available, that On Request ride may take them directly to the help. It may transfer onto the Route 50, but that'll be a time transfer that the system provides. The drivers for the On Request service are very specifically trained and vetted. So it's not way more than Uber drivers are. It is a public transit service, so safety is a top priority for us, for children. I should also mention that we have added, for smaller children that want to travel with their parents, that need seats, for example, in regular cars, we have added an ARBOC bus, which was the biggest one in the picture that you saw, for Sundays. So now every day of the week, there is a vehicle out there that can carry children, small children, with their parents in a safe way.
And if I may, through you, Madam Mayor, I have one follow-up question. I would like to make a suggestion for further improvement, and that is that I would like you to consider in the future the possibility of having a new bus stop in downtown Mount Albert on the Main Street. We are in the process of starting the actual construction of the revitalization project. It has started, and so we're very excited by this time next year that it will hopefully be almost completed. And so if there could be a bus shelter and a bus stop on Main Street, right beside the local community center in Main Street of Mount Albert, that is something that would be very welcomed by the community, and they do sorely miss. I will support what my fellow ward councillor has said. They sorely miss the bus route of 58. So if there could be some consideration taken, the bus shelter at the Mount Albert Royal Oak Seniors home was removed about a year or so ago, but if we could see a bus shelter in somewhere in downtown Mount Albert, that would be very welcomed. Thank you.
I'm not seeing any other questions. You clearly have listened, and we know that you're working hard for East Gwillimbury's young people and those that are taking transit. So thank you very much. Councillor Roy DiClemente, would you move that, please? Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Wonderful to
much.
have you with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking for Dee Goodyear and Dee Lemke on behalf of Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. No strangers to us here. We just don't see you very often, but we're pleased to have you here. And they're going to be making a presentation to committee regarding chloride in the Lake Simcoe watershed. Welcome. Wonderful to have you with us today.
Yeah, Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for having us. Picked a wonderful day to talk about winter salt, but we'll take what we can get. We're going to call it chloride, but yeah, what we're talking about is winter salt. Again, my name is David Lemke. I'm the Director of Watershed Science and Monitoring with the Conservation Authority, and with me is Don Goodyear, our Director of Integrated Watershed Management. I'm going to cover a little bit of the status and trends of what we're seeing in the watershed, and then hand it over to Don to talk a bit about what we're trying to do in terms of management options. So if you go to the next slide, I think this is, we'll start with a bit of our poster child for the chloride issue in Lake Simcoe, which is the lake itself. One back will actually give us a lake, which is a trend that we've been following since the 1970s. So we start in the 70s, picture if you will. About 10 milligrams per liter is ambient in a lot of lakes, including Lake Simcoe. We're so close. And we're sitting today at a trend that's, or we're sitting today at a concentration that's about 60 milligrams per liter. So really what we're talking about is, there it is, that relentless increasing trend in chloride concentrations in a very large body of water. Conceivably, if this trend continues, there will come a point at which we're going to cross critical ecological thresholds. I've thrown up the sort of closest one, which is that red line, which is the CCME chronic guideline. 120 milligrams per liter is a threshold at which certain sensitive species will have life cycle impacts, be those sort of reproductive or developmental. So obviously that's something we would like to curb before we cross some of those thresholds, and what we're working to do. But if you go to the next slide, and we sort of take that step back and we look at where all the water is coming from the watershed, unfortunately what we're seeing is again, these are all of our tributary monitoring sites. We've trended the data at these sites in the short term and the long term. Up arrows at each one of those represents an increasing trend. Sort of that level arrow is a stable trend. There are no declining trends. So really we're seeing what is happening in the lake reflected in the tributaries. If you go to the next slide, as I sort of said, there's two pieces to the chloride story. There's those trends, but there's also the concentrations and those critical thresholds. So a lot going on here, but what we've done is we've taken a decade's worth of data and looked at the proportion of samples that exceed that chronic guideline, the 120, and that's the number in the top of the bubble, and the number that exceed an acute guideline. So this is a threshold, 640 milligrams per liter, where some species, this will be a lethal concentration. They can't survive. And so when we look at, again, all of those monitoring stations across the lake, and we kind of look at the northeast quadrant, lower road densities, smaller urban areas, we're not seeing exceedances of those concentrations, or very few exceedances of those concentrations in those tributaries. However, when we look sort of in the urban cores of Aurora, Newmarket, Barrie, we're seeing not only a large proportion of the samples are exceeding the chronic, and that was actually, these are year-round samples, so even if we went out to some of these streams today, we would probably be finding concentrations that are exceeding that concentration. We're also starting to see a proportion of samples that are exceeding the acute. So this is, again, where some of these streams, there are lethal effects, there are species that cannot survive in those creeks. And what I want to do is we're going to hone in on one. It's in Newmarket. It's that one on the bottom that's 94 and 46. And I'm not picking on Newmarket because they're doing anything different. They've taken some great strides to address winter maintenance and winter maintenance needs and balance it. But if you could go to the next slide, it's a bit unique in that it is a very urbanized catchment. One back, please. If you it's the Yonge and Davis corridor. It's about 97% urbanized, and that Yonge-Davis corridor, a lot of commercial parking lots. It's got Upper Canada Mall. You're going to hear Don talk about moving towards a change in practice or a limited liability around parking lots. Can we still try to get to that one? One back? One forward? And again, if we're going to see that change in practice because of the small size of this catchment, if it's going to have an impact, this is one of those spots where we would hope to see a declining trend. And so what we've done, there it is. What we've actually done, so there's the Western Creek in Newmarket. Again, the area I've highlighted in red, that's sort of that urban or commercial core, a lot of parking lots in there. If we're going to see a change in practice, this is probably going to be one of those first sites where we'd hope to see that declining trend. So what we've actually done is we've gone from our sort of routine sampling of once every 2 weeks, and we've put out continuous chloride samples. So we now can go to samples every half an hour to really understand what's happening in this creek. And now if we can see that next graph, What I've got is I've got the 2024-5 winter. The jagged line is the chloride concentrations throughout that winter. We're going to have to adjust our frame of reference because the chronic concentration that I showed you on that first graph is actually that yellow line that sits right at the very bottom, that yellow dashed line at the bottom of that graph. And what we can actually see from that is the concentration in Western Creek was above both the chronic and acute the majority of the winter. And in fact, we had a new highest concentration this past winter at 26,000 milligrams per liter, which actually exceeds ocean water. So there's 3 instances where Western Creek was saltier than the ocean. When we look at the biology of the creek, we see significant impacts to the fish, the benthic macroinvertebrates, the base of the food chain in this creek, and in fact scores amongst the worst, or if not worst, in the watershed. So while the lake has a little bit of time to curb that trend, where we're really seeing these significant impacts is in our urban creeks. If I can leave you with one other interesting study, if you can go to the next slide. We also started to look, as we sort of looked at the management of salt in parking lots, is a bit of a myth that we kept running across in commercial parking lots, a public expectation myth around more salt equals more safety. There seems to be this conception that if I can crunch underfoot, I've got a safe parking lot. So we wanted to really look at that. And if you go to the next slide, we did a study with surface friction tester. And what we're looking at, you don't need to know a lot about surface friction, except above 0.5 is considered a safe surface, and degrees below that becomes less safe. Same surface on the left and the right, a little bit wet, no snow, not a lot of salt on that one. On the right, a lot of salt, no wet, no snow, and yet we have a lower friction value with all that salt in the way. And if you go to the next slide, this is, I think, really illustrates it. We have a salted walkway, orders of magnitude greater salting rate. We have a snowy walkway that they've just freshly shoveled, but there's a skim of snow. They have the same friction value. They're essentially just as unsafe. So really gets at the notion that more salt does not necessarily equal more safety. The right amount of salt equals that safety. And if you can go to the next slide, I think really it starts to help us or ask us, are we placing an unreasonable expectation on our winter maintenance contractors? Are we expecting too much of them when in fact there are a number of surfaces that we traverse year-round, day in, day out? High-heeled shoes, patent leather shoes, we traverse those pretty safely without that same liability concern and that same expectation of safety that we might put on our surfaces outside in the winter. So I leave you with that thought, but I will turn it over to Dawn, who will chat a little bit about some management ideas.
Good to have you with us, Don.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, and good afternoon, members of council. Dave's done a great job of indicating that we've got a pretty significant challenge out there, but of course we can't just stop salting. We live in Canada. There's a public safety issue that we definitely need to manage. Next slide, please. But the good news is we're not starting from scratch. There's lots of best practices out there on how to safely reduce the amount of salt that gets applied. I'd like to point out that municipal roads management is really the cream of the crop, and I want to point out that you're in really good hands here with Jeff Meggett. I think the town is an example we point to often for our SALT working group of what small municipalities can do. Jeff has won an award for reducing the use of sand, and I think he's the first, if not still the only local municipality that's using brine and anti-icing. So you're on the leading edge here, but if we go to the next slide, where I think the opportunity is as Dave, I think, alluded to, is private parking lots. Those parking lots are a bit challenging. So we did a study in a parking lot in the southern part of the watershed, and we were fortunate enough to have 2 contractors that were looking after that parking lot over the period of the study. They used similar equipment, obviously had the same concerns. They had the same employer, and that there was the same clientele using the facility. So it was a really interesting study. If you go to the next slide. Contractor A was more of your kind of typical old school type contractor, used the same application rate irrespective of the snow event. It was a very high application rate, and he went out based on kind of the 680 News forecast, and didn't vary application based on what was on the ground. Contractor B, who took over partway through our study, was quite progressive, very open to best practices, regularly monitored the site, and tailored application based on site conditions. And the next slide shows some of the outcome of that difference in practice. So the blue is contractor A and the amount of salt that they put down, and the red is contractor B, obviously much smaller bars. I think it was in the order of 20 tons less per season used by contractor B. And he wasn't just lucky. The dashed line in the slide there shows the precipitation, so fairly consistent in terms of how much snow and ice the two contractors were dealing with. But contractor B used significantly less salt. Not only is that great for the environment, but the contractor also saved $40,000 per year in the process. So a real economic advantage, let alone the environmental benefit. And also interesting to point out that there were no complaints through this period or lawsuits for either contractor. So there was a safe surface for this parking lot over the course of the study. Next slide, please. So the bottom line being, it is possible to reduce salt application and maintain public safety. That does have the benefit of cost savings because of reduced material application. But what it requires is contractor training, good information on weather conditions and pavement conditions, and the ability to make good decisions. As Dave mentioned, there's a lot of folks out there that just think more is better, and if you can't see salt on the ground, you can't feel it underfoot, then there's not enough on the surface. So education is a big part of what's required. And as you might expect, there's also still a significant barrier for these private properties and contractors in terms of liability, which leads to the next slide. And what we are pointing to try and address that last hurdle, that liability hurdle, is what's often referred to as the New Hampshire approach. So New Hampshire in the U.S. and a couple of other northeastern U.S. states have adopted a limited liability approach where contractors that are trained in best practices, apply those best practices, and can prove that they've done so through documentation, are held harmless in slip, trip, and fall lawsuits. That legislation has been defended in appeals up to the Superior Court in New Hampshire. So it's a really effective way of encouraging contractors to do the right thing, apply the right amount of salt. That's something that we've proposed be applied here in Ontario through our Freshwater Roundtable, and our Board of Directors is encouraging that other municipalities in the watershed kind of nudge the province to adopt that limited liability framework here in Ontario. I think the next slide is the last one. So how you might be able to help is certainly endorsing a resolution of that variety, encouraging the province to adopt a limited liability approach, leading by example by hiring trained and certified contractors where possible. I'm not sure who manages the community centers and parking lots in the town, but roads are in great shape, but parking lots are a little trickier. So you could lead by example there. The weather data that you have and rely on for your roads management is top-notch, so if it's possible to share that with the contractors working in the town, they can make better decisions. So that's something we recommend where it's possible. And Jeff is a member of our working group and very keen to adopt new best practices as they become available, so empowering him to keep doing that would be fantastic. And I think that's it, Madam Mayor. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I was really interested to read the more salt, more safety myth. Nothing drives me more crazy than walking into the local bank with that beautiful crunch underfoot, and also looking at the building and seeing that the first 2 rows of bricks are deteriorating from the salt that they throw on. Do you push out any social media to kind of educate those contractors that our communications team could jump on and help with?
Thanks for the question. Through you, Madam Mayor, that's I neglected to include it in the what you can do, but we are embarking on an outreach campaign for exactly that reason. So we are starting to establish some materials. I think the Regional Waterloo is ahead of the game there because they've got some pretty significant salt impacts in their drinking water. So we want to kind of ride their coattails, borrow some of their materials, customize them for the watershed, and we'd be happy to share those with your communications folks. And if we can piggyback off each other, that would be fantastic.
Perfect. And if I might, Madam Mayor, you know, I don't, sometimes I think that people don't realize that salt doesn't work as well if you don't have the traffic to make it work. And they load it into the parking lots where there's no traffic. So you wonder why it all lays there and gets built up. The other thing I was wondering about is, can you talk a little bit about the difference of the level of chloride between the brine liquid and regular road salt? I'm understanding it's better. How much better is it?
Do you have some numbers?
Well, I would argue Jeff can probably answer that one better than we can. I think and you just nudge me if I get it wrong. I don't apply salt to roads. This is a stretch, but certainly it's the applicability of application. So brining, you can anti-ice, you can get out ahead of the storm, you can prevent the snow from bonding to the pavement, and it's easier to remove it. As opposed to coming after with rock salt, you actually have to get enough down that you melt that bonded stuff and then can scrape it back. I got it, yeah. So, yeah, so it's a bit more, it's an advanced application. It takes different equipment, which is a challenge, but you can be more strategic with the amount of salt you use. But largely, chloride is the same concentration, more or less.
I mean, it makes sense and everybody's using it, so it must be a little bit better, but there still has to be a certain amount of that that's getting back into the streams and, you know, but, I mean, if everybody's used it, it's got to be better.
So if I could add through you, Madam Mayor, Jeff just whispered, it's 23% less chloride that's used through the liquid approach.
Councillor Lahey, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Mayor. First, I wanted to acknowledge, thank you very much for your presentation. And I wanted to say that our representative for East Gwillimbury, my fellow councillor, Tara Roy DeClementi, is on the board of the LSRCA. So I wanted to acknowledge that, and I wanted to acknowledge that she shared a further report this morning. But I wish I'd had a little bit more time to read it because it's a very detailed report in more detail. But I understand that it was at the request of the LSRCA board that you visit each of the municipalities and provide us with this educational information. So I appreciate that. Now, as someone who slipped on the end of my driveway in the winter and injured my shoulder, I am very interested in other options as a local resident. So my understanding is that the town, with our award-winning manager of roads, Jeff Maggot, that our trucks have the electronically calibrated salt spreaders, and that it is indeed the parking lots and facilities operations contractors that we could look at addressing. So, but how does, if we want to improve the entire water system and reduce chloride, how do local residents in East Gwillimbury, what is the best substance for them to put on their driveways and their sidewalks that are going to end up in our water system? So I have tried using the ice melter because it's pet friendly. You know, I spend extra money and I buy the ice melter. So are there any myths around sand or pet friendly ice melters, or what do you suggest that individuals do to play their part in improving the situation?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I think the residents can use salt purchased from whatever store is appropriate. Sand is not terribly effective on paved surfaces. Dave likes to use the analogy of shuffleboard and sandpaper. You know, if you've got something for the sand to stick to on a dirt road or a soft surface, then sand is great. If it's on a paved surface, then it actually decreases the friction like a shuffleboard table. So sand's not great. Salt is effective. Shoveling first so that the salt can touch the pavement, as the other councillor was alluding to, and then it's a matter matter of just the right application rate. So Dave had some pictures in his slides there that showed over application versus correct application. Correct application looks light. That's the education that I think we need to get out there. The appropriate amount of salt is less than you'd probably expect.
And so just to follow up, Madam Mayor, through you. So what do you think about these pet-friendly ice melters? Because we don't want to, there are a lot of dogs in Mount Albert, you know, that I don't want our pets suffering with salt. So what do you suggest?
I think I'm trying to remember. So there's a few different types of urea is one. They are all generally effective. I think the challenge we find with the alternatives, there's nothing as cheap as or as effective as salt. The other ones that start to get good, and I couldn't tell you whether they're in the salt ones, is a calcium CCM. I can't remember what the CCM. Calcium, magnesium. Yeah. So there's a few of them out there. I don't know I don't know how proven they are for being friendlier on pets. I think all of them, though, if you use the right amount, is really where you're going to do the benefit. We've never studied it to really understand that pet value. That does seem to be a lot of labeling, and the ingredients are generally the same.
Councillor Roy DiClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I wanted to thank you both. Unfortunately, you're here on behalf of Lake Simcoe and not necessarily on behalf of homeowners, and so I just wanted to comment. This presentation was given to the LSRCA board earlier this year, and the chart that showed Western Creek being more salty than the ocean was alarmed the members of the board, and they felt that there was a critical need to act. And so, while this has been a sort of an issue that the LSRCA has dealt with, and that the industry and municipalities have been dealing with, they felt that something more was needed. And so, the LSRCA staff have made Dawn and David available to us to share this information, because they're the ones who can explain it the best to us. And there was a conversation at the table about declaring salt a controlled substance, just like we do with other weed control substances and things like that have a harm to our ecology. And so there's that kind of thing that's happening. And then I know, Councillor Foster, there's also some work being done through Landscape Ontario in trying to get contractors who to get onto the Smart About Salt program, and that's sort of tied into that limited liability push. So members of committee will know, I did circulate some information this morning, but over the past several months, we've been receiving copies of correspondence from our neighboring municipalities who've been passing resolutions supporting the work that the LSRCA is doing, and supporting the idea that something more needs to be done from a limited liability perspective, and getting the province to support the work that not only the LSRCA is doing, but there are other organizations across the province, but just trying to find a way to get a province-wide approach to this challenging issue. So I don't know, I know there isn't anything on the table today, and I'm certainly happy to simply receive and ask staff to prepare a resolution for us, or we can put something up on the screen that was previously passed. The LSRCA board tomorrow at its next board meeting is also going to be considering a resolution that's been prepared by staff. So obviously this isn't going to be solved today, so it's not urgent, but this is certainly where I'm delighted to have been able to share this presentation with my colleagues, because I think it's a really important message for us to at least start with that advocacy work. So I wanted to thank you very much, both of you gentlemen.
Councillor Carruthers, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was so eye-opening. And thank you, Councillor Roy DiClemente, for making sure that we saw this. I agree we should do a resolution, but I would, since there's not an urgency, we're still a few months away from the winter, hopefully, I would love to send this back to staff along with the reports from the LSRCA and the resolutions from other municipalities to come up with our own resolution, because to me, it's so much more than just putting pressure on the province around limited liability. You talked in your presentation about what we can do. And I think that public information campaign is going to be important. I think looking at what we're already doing, I think we're in good shape, but is there more that can be done? So I would be happy to support a resolution that referred this back to staff to come back to us with a resolution that it would include all the things that we could do to help reduce chloride in our environment. So thank you very much.
Councillor Crone?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to our presenters. This was really interesting. I didn't think I'd find a presentation about salt so interesting, and you proved me wrong. I have to reiterate what my colleague, Councillor Foster, said about the myth of oversalting, because myself, I've had near injuries from stepping out of my car in a commercial parking lot and almost done the splits, because my 1 foot that's coming out of the car is gliding on a path of what feels like salt ball bearings and zero traction. So I would reiterate the comment about broadcasting this as much as you can. I would reach out and share this with the Insurance Bureau of Canada. That's the lobby arm of the insurance industry, because this could have a very positive effect on the slip and fall litigations that are out there, because personal injury lawyers will say, oh, you didn't salt enough, therefore you're liable for this claim. So get the word out. I'm in favor of this. I think this will lower residential and commercial insurance. So I really appreciate the presentation, and keep doing your good work. And happy to support any resolution coming that would support the liability limitation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Leahy?
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Mayor. I wouldn't be comfortable to put forward a resolution today accepting what other municipalities have done, but I would be comfortable putting it back to staff so that we can gain some more information, and I would like more time to read the full report from the LSRCA that I received this morning. So I think I would be comfortable if I had more time, and that if our staff had more time as well to digest what we've been presented with today. So I'm happy to support a resolution to direct it back to staff to come to us with further information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Roy DiClemente, you have...
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move that we receive the presentation with thanks, and that we refer the matter to staff to prepare a resolution that is focused on East Gwillimbury and what East Gwillimbury can do to support the matter.
All those in favor?
I don't know if it needs a timing. We have the Madam Clerk asked if we needed to add a time to it, and I'm thinking we have most of the material ahead of us, and the staff report for tomorrow is 3 pages long, so it's not too onerous.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
And that's carried.
Thank you to my colleagues and to you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us today. Councillor Crothers, you previously indicated that you wanted to consider J1 following today's presentations. Would you like to make a motion to move item J1 up at this time?
So moved.
Thank you very much. All in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Roy DiClemente, given that this is under Development Service section of the agenda, I will now pass the chair over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're just going to deal with item J1 at this time, which is Development Services Report DS 2025-23, zoning bylaw amendment application made by Michael Smith Planning Consultants on behalf of 54 Bridle Path. So we have a motion that we receive and that we approve the zoning bylaw subject to some conditions. Mr. Krupnik, would you care to present your staff's report?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll keep this fairly brief in case there are questions of council. I do have with me today as well our Chief Building Official and Manager of Bylaw Services in case there are questions of council specific to those branches. Today we are here for a report on a zoning bylaw amendment application. It's to rezone lands within our Oak Ridges Moraine core area to a site-specific zoning. To facilitate the conversion of one existing accessory structure to something that we would term a vacation cabin as an accessory use to a bed and breakfast on that site. A site plan process and site plan agreement will also be part of this process following zoning bylaw amendment if it was approved by council. The thing that I would point to council's attention is, or the item on that, is that following the public meeting on this item, this zoning bylaw amendment does recommend approval of the zoning bylaw amendment, but subject to a restriction of 2 persons or 2 occupants per room within the bed and breakfast and within the vacation cabin itself as well. So that would be 6 guests within the house and 2 guests within the vacation cabin. Thank you, members of council. I'm here for your questions.
Thank you. And I do note that there's a significant amount of supporting material that your planner has prepared for us as well. So I wanted to acknowledge that work as well. So members of committee, where would you like to go with this? Any questions? Councillor Leahy, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much through you, Madam Chair. First, I wanted to recognize all of the deputations this morning that we received. I wanted to acknowledge and appreciate that we've received multiple emails and phone calls and feedback from residents specifically on that street. And I want to commend the deputations because they were all very articulate and they were thoughtful and that they were respectful. And above all, they were respectful of their neighbors. And that's a really great thing to see. So thank you very much for all of your deputations. And I would like to suggest that there was even a deputant who put forward compromises to the situation. And so I want to acknowledge that as well. I think that was very generous of him to do that. Personally, when I'm reading through the parts of this resolution, my stumbling block is that there is a request to rezone the lands from the Oak Ridges Moraine Core Zone and so, to a site-specific Oak Ridges Moraine Core Zone to facilitate this conversion of an existing accessory building into a vacation cabin. So for me as a councillor, that is my stumbling block. I think if we start making amendments to the Oak Ridges Moraine Core Zone, that we could potentially get into a situation where everyone will then want to start having amendments to the Oak Ridges Moraine Core Zone. And in the past, I have had residents who wanted to change their business practices or open up, their land and their barns to different activities. And if we open up this, I am very concerned about the future of making other amendments. So that's where I stand on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Members of committee, anyone else have a question or a statement? Councillor Carruthers, please go ahead.
I concur with Councillor Leahy. The rezoning to me seems unfair to the existing residents. The people who bought this property knew what the zoning was when they bought it, and the residents knew what the zoning was when they purchased their property. And I think it would be extremely unfair to change the zoning once everyone's moved in, and how this is being used is obviously disruptive to the community. I don't see that changing, and I don't think that it would be fair to the existing residents. I certainly wouldn't want that happening to me, to find out my neighbor's property had been rezoned. So I cannot support this recommendation. So I would ask that when we come to vote, if you could divide the recommendation so we can receive the report, but then deal with the rezoning separately. Thank you.
So noted. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Foster and then Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with everything that's been said so far, and at this point, I can't support this change. I have an issue with things being done that affect the residents that live right there, often with no recourse on how things can be better. I will acknowledge the fact that we had deputants today stand up and say that maybe there was compromises that could be made. I think at this point, maybe I'm making this too simple, but I would love to see everyone sit down in the same room and see if there are compromises to be made, and come back to us with a different playbook, if you will. Again, at this point, I don't think I can support.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I too want to thank all the deputants that have been here, and I appreciate their perspective. I think, I want to be clear, I am not opposed to Airbnbs, and I think they actually have a place to play in our community. And I can see them becoming more popular. People are looking for ways of generating an extra revenue stream. Times are tough, and I certainly understand that. However, that's also part of the reason why I've been personally, and I think my ward mate has as well, calling for a short-term rental policy that we don't have right now. And this zoning bylaw amendment is, I think we're trying to go at it on a piecemeal basis, and I don't think that serves anyone well either. So again, I would say at some point in the near future, we're going to have to reconsider a short-term rental policy, and along with a vacant dwelling policy. But for now, I have a hard time supporting this. It's almost a case of retroactive due diligence, and I'm not crazy about that. I fully support what Councillor Foster said. If the community can get together, come up with a compromise where everyone's happy, that's a win. And I would be happy to bring this back to the council table and look at it then. But at this point, I just can't support it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mayor Haxon, did you wish to weigh in?
I also have difficulty in moving forward with this as well, so thank you.
Okay. Councillor Johns, I saw your hand. Sorry, I had already called on the mayor. Go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So I'm trying to take a pragmatic look at this, and I listened to the deputations from the Stanleys, and obviously from others as well. And I think about the fact that the bed and breakfast currently, as it stands right now, without the rezoning, it's permissive under the existing zoning that is sitting there. And so, what would enact the opportunity to actually support the residents is actually going through this process that would then enable the site plan to be enacted to create, we'll say, visual barriers for the residents directly across the street. The Stanley's comment about the fire, like, I take that very seriously, and I'm thinking about the fact that if this fails, there is no opportunity for the municipality to be able to work with these folks on a site plan that has screening. And so if this fails, we walk out of here, I feel that we're actually not serving the residents of the street to the best that we can, because essentially we don't have any power over the site plan agreement. And so if we are looking for visual hedgerows, increased safety, we don't get that by voting this down. And I am thinking about what we've gone through in the past with folks who have presented to us and acting in good faith, and it's clear that everybody on all sides are attempting to act in good faith. But I'm looking at the staff report, and I took some time to read it through thoroughly. And so I am recognizing that the bed and breakfast is the permitted use already. And this is all in the report, it aligns with the provincial planning statement. It conforms to the Greenbelt Plan. It conforms to the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan. It conforms to the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan. It conforms to the York Region Official Plan. It conforms to the East Gwillimbury Official Plan. Development Engineering, Parks, Recreation and Culture, the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority, the Regional Municipality of York have no objection. And so, all of that being the case, I am not sure how I can sit here and, sorry, let me say that. Let me rephrase this. I am sitting here with all of this information, with all of these governing bodies that we clearly respect because we're sitting here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here. So we respect them. And the list is extensive. And so to that end, I am thinking, how can we best serve the residents on the bridle path? Because I feel if we vote no, I don't believe that the proponent has to do anything to support the other residents on the street. I believe if we vote yes, then our staff can then work with them on site plan to deliver things like visual hedgerows, deliver on safety with screening on fire. And without that, if we vote no, we can't enact any of those items. So for those reasons that I've outlined, I'm going to be voting yes to the recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Crothers, or before I do that, Mr. Krupnik, did you want to respond to any of that at this point, or should I just turn the microphone over to Councillor Crothers?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I think I'm open to listening to more questions and more conversation, and then I'm willing to take the podium at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crothers, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to either our CAO or Mr. Krupnik, does voting down this resolution prevent us from addressing the residents' concerns with the building as it's now being, or the property as it's now being used? And does a site plan necessarily have an obligation to do screening and fire and everything that Councillor Johns mentioned?
Go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, looking through some of the zoning policies today, it would appear that the bed and breakfast within the ORMC zone would still require a site plan agreement.
And
Thank you.
a fire permit.
Yes, and the fire permit, my understanding is they have been receiving fire permits on an annual basis.
Thank you. So I'm comfortable still voting this down, knowing that they still need the site plan agreement. Thank you.
Okay, given that everyone has had an opportunity to speak and ask some questions, where would you like to go with this?
I will move receipt.
Okay, so I've got a motion moved by Councillor Carruthers that we receive the staff report. And just receiving at this point. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Would anyone like to put another resolution on the table? Councillor Johns, I see your mic on.
Yeah, I will move the recommendation that the staff have within the report.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table from Councillor Johns that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment application as presented on the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed? And that motion is defeated. Madam Mayor, I believe that we have concluded the discussion and we've dealt with this matter under Committee of the Whole, and so I'll turn the chair back to you so we can resume our regularly scheduled programming, and then we'll come back to Development Services as part of the rest of our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are at item G, Corporate Services, with Councillor Carruthers in the chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say to the people that were here for the last item, feel free to leave if you want to, or stick around and listen to the rest of this. Under corporate services, we have just one memo, the 2025 communications update, and I'll turn this over to General Manager Gandhi to take us through that. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you. We have in front of you the Corporate Services memo that speaks to a communications update. The memo highlights some of the accomplishments that our communications branch under the leadership of Bethany Lee has been able to accomplish, and they reflect the public engagement campaign that was launched in March 2024. We welcome any questions from members of council.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of council? Councillor Leahy.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Chair. Because we were discussing signed bylaw policies on Tuesday, and I noted that you have seen an increase in the responses to digital ads. I was wondering if you could elaborate on what is the nature of the digital ads and where they were used in order to get that kind of an increase in the effectiveness of those.
Through you, Madam Chair, I will ask that Director Lee respond to that question.
Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the question, Councillor Leahy. If I'm understanding your question correctly, you're asking about placement of digital ads, or are you curious about our digital platforms? Perhaps you could elaborate, and then I'll be happy to share whatever I can.
Thank you very much. Well, through you, Madam Chair, I'd appreciate both. The types of ads we're putting out there and where they're located, and who are we reaching and why is it increasing? I noted that in your report, in light of the signage policy that we are currently putting together.
Very good. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So in terms of our digital placement, we do have a internal and external signs. So you would see some just outside of our council chamber here, for instance, or at our sports complex or at our customer service desk. So we consider those and generally call them our digital ads. So those are owned by the town and they're internal in our buildings. We also have pillar signage that appears in front of some of our locations, and we expect both of these to be in place at the Health and Active Living Plaza upon opening as well. The communications team also prepares ads. You asked about types and locations, so I would also share that we advertise online in terms of our placement across our social channels. And so I would call those digital ads or digital placements. And those would be across pretty much all of our programs that we support. So when we roll out a campaign, we generally consider all of the tactics that we can and the appropriate placement. And so not only would we share information across these digital screens, we would share across, the Bulletin magazine, for instance, road signs, which are very popular, posters, door knockers. There are smaller printed materials that we share. And of course, then we supplement this with more traditional outreach, such as our community open house that we had very recently, public meetings and barbecues and so on, so that we can reach people in a variety of manner. But I hope that does help explain a little bit about our digital footprint.
Through you, Madam Chair, I have another follow-up question. So I received feedback from residents, and I know that every effort is always made. It's the ultimate challenge. We want to try every format, every medium, because everybody has a different way that they get information, whether it's an ad from a local monthly bulletin or whether it's from a printed material. So with regard to communicating, I wanted to share with you some feedback I received at the pancake breakfast that we had this year. And we made the sort of last-minute decision to not hand out cards at the Santa Claus Parade promoting the pancake breakfast. And so what I found at the pancake breakfast, it was very interesting. The majority of people there that I spoke to were from Holland Landing. So I said, well, how did you find out about it? And they said there was a big Kerbeck sign in Holland Landing promoting the pancake breakfast. But there was no Kerbeck sign, as far as I'm aware, in Mount Albert promoting the pancake breakfast. So for my first question is with regard to promoting the pancake breakfast next year. We have just dissolved our Santa Claus Parade Committee. I'd like clarification on where the funds come from to communicate about the Mayor and Council's pancake breakfast, if it comes from Mayor and Council's budget, or if it comes from a larger communications budget to commutate about that. Thank you.
Thank you. General Manager Gandhi, is this within the scope of your report, or is this something we can report back on?
We're, through you, Madam Chair, we're happy to report on that level of detail at a future time or by email, whatever would be
If you have the
appropriate.
information, that's great. If you need to email us later, that's good too.
Yes.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. You were saying email later?
Yeah, sorry, through you, Madam Chair, yes, I don't have that specific level of detail.
Okay.
In terms of which cost center that particular item was attributed to. So with your understanding, I'd appreciate it if we can bring it back.
Thank you.
By way of email.
It's a good question, so I think getting the details right would be great. Thank you. Before we go to another question, I just want to see if anyone else has any questions or comments on this. Seeing none, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So with regard to following up with the answer to that question in terms of the budget line, I would also like to ask that since we no longer have a Santa Claus Parade Committee, I'd like to understand the decision-making process on when and how we decide when we're going to promote the pancake breakfast. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Gandhi?
We're happy to include information about how we promote the pancake breakfast
Wonderful.
and details on the
Thank
cost
you.
center.
If there's no other questions, I had one question that came up at a committee meeting last night about the effectiveness of road signs. There's people in the community who think they're fantastic, as Councillor Leahy just pointed out. It gets people out. There's other people who think they're a blight on the landscape. We certainly seem to be using them more. So I'm just wondering if, it's not really in this report, but are we looking at the effectiveness of our road signs, and is there a way to gauge that separate from everything else we're doing?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, we're regularly evaluating. The purpose of this report is to show where people are actually accessing our data, and we do get a cross-section of feedback from individuals indicating where they do find our information. We're also looking at other municipalities and what effect they're having in their communication tools. And so that's an ongoing process, yes.
Thank you. I also had a resident ask for more newsletters, more e-newsletters. I always try and promote the newsletter to people saying, you're only going to get it once a week. Your inbox is not going to be filled. So I think if there is an appetite for more newsletters, to have a separate mailing list, and there is people who do want to hear all the time about what's happening. We have so many things going on, and there's people who would love to be on an email list where they get an email daily saying, don't forget about the farmer's market today, and don't forget about the ribbon cutting and that sort of thing. So I know that would be a lot more staff time, but it was raised by a resident. I just wanted to forward that. I thought this was an appropriate time. Go ahead, Councillor Leahy.
Thank you very much. Well, through you, Madam Mayor, what you just stated triggered another feedback opportunity for me. At the ribbon cutting for the pickleball in Sharon this past Tuesday morning, I think it was, that we had the pickleball ribbon cutting. A member of the media was there, And so it was requested by the member of the media that they be included on announcements about openings, about ribbon cuttings, about even the Indigenous ceremony and flag raising. They indicated that they would have been delighted to be here and record it and document it for the general public in York Region. So I think that there may be more opportunities to establish regular communications with media outlets to promote all of the wonderful activities going on in East Gwillimbury. So that's my final point. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for referring to me as Madam Mayor.
Got a promotion?
Are you okay with that? We have a resolution before us, if there's no further questions, to receive this report. Councillor Leahy, would you like to move that receipt? Thank you very much. All in favor? That carries. If there's anything else?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. We're always looking at innovative ways of getting our news out, and one thing that is, we're hoping, it hasn't actually happened yet, but we're planning for Monday for us to do a ride-along with Rob on the Road with 105.9, and he is going to be joining our Parks team, and it'll be actually in Mount Albert for a first-hand look at the teams and how they care for our parks and our turfs and fields and urban forestry. So stay tuned for that.
Wonderful.
We'll make sure council's aware of any of the broadcasts that come forward from that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And if there's nothing else, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Mayor. Sorry.
Thank you.
Councillor Foster, did you want something? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry for being late. I just thought now, quite a while ago, I mentioned the possibility of maybe using some of our town vehicles for rolling billboards. I see our Sprinter vans driving around there, a billboard on their own. I'd love to see maybe something come back to us telling me why that's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm not sure which it is. But I've always been of the belief that there's no better advertisement than your vehicle driving down the road. It hits a lot. So I don't know whether that's worth a thought or not.
Thank you. I think it's worth a thought, and I know it will be addressed as appropriate. Thank you. I'll turn the chair back to you now, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We're under Parks, Recreation, and Culture Report, draft sponsorship and naming policy, with Councillor Cronin, the chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And we just have one item today, and it is the Parks and Recreation and Culture Report on the draft sponsorship and naming rights policy. Mr. Karmazin, could you take us through that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your report prepared for Council provides the revised sponsorship and naming rights policies. These policies provide the opportunity, these policies provide the opportunity for significant funding to help offset operating and capital costs for parks, recreation, and culture infrastructure and programming. The policies have been developed with internal staff and senior leadership team review. In addition, staff provided the initial policies to Council, conducted a workshop for Council and individual Council outreach opportunities to provide further input and revise the policies that have been presented today. I'd like to highlight that the revised policies detail out the intent of the policy, the process for sponsorship and naming rights, and the roles of council, staff, and the parties the town may partner with to provide sponsorship and naming rights opportunities. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to the revised policies presented to council.
Thank you, Mr. Karmazin. Before we get into it, could I have a mover for this report, please? Moved by Councillor Carruthers. Okay. Any questions from committee? Go ahead, Councillor Carruthers.
Not a question, just a comment. I want to thank staff for working on this so diligently. I had some comments the first time it came forward, and they've all been incorporated. And I just want to say how much I appreciate being heard and having that incorporated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DiClemente, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Karmazin, given that this would likely be waiting until September to be adopted, and you've got a major facility coming online, are you in a position to be able to It doesn't sound, unless it's adopted, you're not necessarily in a position to solicit sponsorship or naming, naming revenue at this point until this is ratified. I'm just wondering about same-day ratification for this matter. Do you have people chomping at the bit with checks in hand, waving them at you?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Roy DeClemente, thank you for the offer. I think at this point, ratification in September would be suffice, and it would allow staff to prepare a sponsorship and naming rights plan to then present back to council as per the amended policy before council.
Okay, thank you. I just was thinking, since we'd seen this before, it wasn't coming out of the blue, so, thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's a really good point. Thanks for asking. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. This was moved by Councillor Carruthers. All those in favor? And that is carried. Mr. Carmison, do you have anything else for committee?
Through you, Mr. Chair, nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Do members of committee have anything for Mr. Carmison? Seeing none, I will hand the chair back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We're at item I, Engineering and Public Works, with Councillor Leahy in the chair.
Madam Mayor, through you, before I take the chair for item I would like to request a 10-minute quick break. Is that possible for us to take just a very quick 10-minute break before we
Could
go
I
into the last
see
of
a
the-
show of hands for a
Yes.
break?
Actually, what you can do, because you're going to assume the chair, is call the break. 'cause-
Okay.
So you take the chair
Well,
and then
I
call a
am-
recess.
I am taking the chair. Do I need the gavel? I'd like to say at 3:46, can we take a brief break and be back just before 4 o'clock so we can get started right again at 4 o'clock? Thank you
4
very much.
o'clock.
4 o'clock, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Mayor, I am now sitting in the chair for Engineering and Public Works. We have 4 items on the agenda today, and a busy agenda it is. And the first item is the Engineering and Public Works report for the Mount Albert Downtown Revitalization Contract Award and the extension to design contract. And can I have a mover for this, please? Councillor Foster, thank you very much for moving that. And I'd like to ask our General Manager, Mike Molinari, to speak to this first point. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first report that you have before you is with regards to the Mount Albert revitalization. This project, it's much more than a road reconstruction project. It's one of the largest and most complex road projects undertaken by the town. The project included significant public consultation with council, residents, to produce a functional design that will beautify the area and meet the needs of residents and businesses for many years to come. So large projects like this take time to be successful, and I'm pleased to advise that with this award, the project remains on track to be completed by the end of 2026. We recognize that there have been some additional costs associated with this project, largely attributed to some changes in scope that were required to provide some extra parking in the downtown along Main Street, some extra work to complete a larger portion of resurfacing along Main Street, and also we note that over the last few years, there's been significant increases in with regards to inflation as a result of COVID, et cetera. So I think at the end of the day, I know that the increases are somewhat significant, but I think we took the time, we developed a project that will meet the needs of the public, and this is really a function of what this project costs today versus what was originally contemplated back in 2020 when the estimate was put together. So with that, I'll leave it to council. Happy to answer any questions with regard to the tender.
Thank you very much, General Manager Molinari. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Mr. Molinari, thank you so much for all the efforts. I could see the finish line in sight. This is great, and happy to support this. And just yesterday, I was downtown, and I saw hydro trucks there putting in new poles. And so it's starting, and let's just keep her going. But thank you so much to you and your team for getting us to this point.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I'd like to add my comments as a ward councillor with this project. I would like to acknowledge all of the work that has been done by staff. And I'm wondering if actually we have Ray here, who's the project manager. If you would like to step up to the podium, I'd like to invite you to do that, because I know that you have done extensive had extensive conversations with the small businesses that are on Main Street and Center Street, and that you will be issuing an educational component. So could you share with us how this phased project will unfold, with the completion date being ideally and strategically October of next year, of 2026. So what work has been done with businesses so that we don't impact small businesses during this construction?
Yep, certainly. Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, we have had numerous public consultation events through our public information centers 1 and 2, and as well as one-on-one meetings with the various business owners, not only to talk about various potential phasing throughout the project, different design factors, but even business operations, so then we can better work around some of those operational constraints. So throughout the course of the project, we had a number of touch base meetings with them, whether or not formal or informal as well. And we built that into the contract itself. Once the contract is awarded, we'll understand the exact phasing throughout 2025 and 2026. Later this year, we are pushing for the west half of Main Street to be advanced with the rehabilitation works, as well as potentially Bank Street as well, followed by the street light installations.
Thank you very much for that update. And today, I know that residents in downtown Mount Albert had a notice on their doors about a water interruption because you're flushing out the systems. So are there any plans to put that kind of a local neighborhood notice about what's going on those main streets, center streets, and immediate streets around?
Yep, great question. So throughout the project, we have been updating our project page. And you've been noticing likely, as of recently, we have been doing weekly construction updates, identifying what's occurring that week and as well as look aheads as well. So with all our social media channels, we are directing the public and businesses to refer to our project website for the latest and greatest on updates.
Well, thank you very much for that update. We really appreciate it. So are there any other questions, or would General Manager Molinari, I see that you'd like to indicate, you've indicated you'd like to add something.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And while we're on this, I just wanted to advise council that similar to Holland Landing project, Project Barbecue, there's actually going to be one for the Mount Albert project as well for the community to get to know the contractor. But those arrangements will be made following the award of this and in discussion with the successful contractor. But we'll be targeting the end of September for that.
Thank you very much. That's great. We've got a bonus barbecue to look forward to. Ooh, I think you'll get a good turnout. So if General Manager Molinari doesn't have any other items he'd like to mention with regard to this resolution, I would like to then ask for a vote. It has been moved by Councillor Foster. Would all those raise your hands if you are in agreement with this resolution? Very good, and that is approved. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to item number 2, which is Engineering and Public Works Report, the Queensville Side Road Bridge 110 replacement contract award and the extension to design contract for contract administration. Can I have a mover for item number 2? Councillor Crone, thank you very much. General Manager Molinari, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. This bridge was taken out of service, Council recall, in late 2024 as a result of significant damage to the structure from overloaded trucks using it. So staff had proactively initiated the design, but then we were forced to fast track it along with the construction tender that's in front of you today. By approving this, we'll be in a position to open the bridge back up as soon as possible. And we're looking to have that construction complete in early 2026, as previously reported to Council. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from members of Council? Seeing none. Okay, did I ask for a mover? Oh, yes, Councillor Crone is our mover. So seeing no other questions, and if the General Manager doesn't have any comments, then I'd like to ask for a vote on this. All those in favor? Very good, and that is passed. And item number 3 is an Engineering and Public Works memo, public consultation events for 2025 capital projects. Can I have a mover for this one? Item number 3. Madam Mayor Haxon, thank you very much. So General Manager Molinari, could you speak to these public consultation events for the capital projects? Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. This memo is to advise Council of 2 upcoming PICs. The first project is the Sharon Water System Network improvements, which includes water main replacements on Mount Albert Road, on Morton Avenue, and others in the Sharon area. So the PIC is proposed to be held on Wednesday, August 20th at the Civic Center from 5 to 8. The second project is our Mount Albert Storm Falls project with the retaining wall and trail design associated with it. That PIC is proposed for Monday, September 8 at the Ross Family Complex from 5 to 8. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Roy DeClemente.
As I'm thinking about it, it's probably a really stupid question, but the Sharon water main replacements, I'm assuming that you're going to need to turn people's water off in order to effect those works?
Through you, Madam Chair. Potentially, it depends. Sometimes they can do that live. There may be, but there most likely there probably will be some minor disruptions to it. But those will not be for days on end. We're talking hours or minutes
Okay,
for those
so
sorts
it
of
wasn't a
turnovers.
stupid question then.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from any other members of council? Seeing none, General Manager Molinari, would you like to make any comments before we vote on this to be received? No, okay, all good. So Mayor Haxon has moved this. Can I have a vote now? All those in favor? Thank you. And that is passed. And so item number 4, which is the last item on engineering and public works today, is the winter maintenance update. And so General Manager, can I have a mover for this? Thank you very much, Councillor Roy Clementi. And General Manager Molinari, would you like to share an update about the winter maintenance, please?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. It's kind of timely given our presentation from earlier today. But this is our annual memo advertising of the operation for the 2024-25 season. The past winter was atypical, with warmer, fluctuating temperatures causing many freeze-thaw events, as well as a few very significant and long-duration storm events, with one having an accumulation of over 70 centimeters of snow, which really tasked our staff. As a result of this past winter, additional salt usage and equipment time was necessary to meet our minimum maintenance standards. And just as reference, the minimum maintenance standards are the thing that protects the town from a liability perspective by ensuring that we put out the salt at prescribed amounts, and we're doing the things that we need to do. And by doing those things, the town is protected under the minimum maintenance standards. In terms of accomplishments, this past winter we added an additional sidewalk route that was approved through the budget, and given the significant winter, that was a much needed additional resource to be implemented last year. Also, the windrow removal financial assistance program was continued on a pilot basis. Approximately 33 properties participated, and staff are proposing to continue that program with a limit of approximately 50 properties, which leaves a cost exposure of about $7,500. But that program is helpful to provide some assistance to seniors and others who have requested some assistance with that windrow removal problem. So in terms of initiatives for the 2025-26 season, we're proposing to leverage technology, which includes a new winter operations dashboard, which would track our winter maintenance activities and route completion analysis. That is actually a great initiative. It's going to help us significantly to know where our trucks are, what works have been done, and to help us plan and coordinate with the region and others to improve the delivery of this fairly significant operation. We also plan to place additional focus on clearing laneway and lay-by parking areas by regularly removing snow in advance of these areas. So this type of operation is expensive, it's time-consuming, and it is really inefficient. So what we're hoping is that that we limit the type of laneways that are approved in the future because of that extra cost and extra resources that are required to do that work. So that's essentially our winter maintenance summary, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, General Manager Molinari. Are there any questions from members of committee? Yes, Councillor Foster.
Thank you. Mr. Molinari, I'm glad that you mentioned that we may have to make some changes in the future. I'm one that mentions quite a bit when we're talking about planning and subdivision agreements that snow storage is an issue. The changing weather that we see tells me that we might be looking at more of these in the future. I guess, and again, I'm not looking for an answer right now. I'm going to kind of do a left turn and throw this at Mr. Krupnik, but at what point can we actually make our developers understand that this is the kind of situation that we're talking about when we tell them that we're not crazy about these laneways and these rear garages and very little space to pile any snow? What's our next move? How do we make this any better without ending up in the OLT because we've turned down a couple of plans?
Through you, Madam Chair, you know, it's somewhat of a complicated question because it involves a number of factors, some of which are from the design perspective. Sometimes we have planners and architects arguing in favor of things such as this so that we get better street frontages, more pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods, and perhaps a better sense of community in some of these places. So it's not a very easy one. It's one we wrestle with all the time, and one Mike and I will continue to, Mr. Molinari and I will continue to kind of advocate for kind of improved kind of solution towards our future neighborhoods. And it goes along with our kind of parking concerns as well in East Gwillimbury, right? So, you know, it's snow, it's garbage, it's you know, parking, all these things wrap up together. So I don't have a solution right now other than to say that we are working on a number of fronts related to zoning and parking, and part of those discussions always involve our engineering counterparts and how we can move forward and alleviate scenarios in which we feel are kind of unsafe and not manageable from a maintenance perspective.
Thank you very much for that question. Are there any other questions or comments? I'd like to make a comment, and I'd like to say that we appreciate how hard you work, and while we're on such a hot day today where it's over 40 degrees and it's very soupy and humid outside, winter seems a long time away, but it will be here soon enough. And so I want to acknowledge that there were many mornings during that very snowy, heavy period that I was calling our Mr. Maggot up very early in the morning because there were residents concerned about salting of sidewalks, etc. So, but I would ask, perhaps, I'm not sure whether it's Mr. Maggot or our General Manager, Mike Molinari, could you speak a little bit more to this dashboard and how it works, the operations at dashboards? Because I have so many calls from residents after a snowfall that I would like to understand if it's interactive with residents, if they can directly bring certain areas to attention for your for salting and road maintenance, or if it's just an internal system that's being used. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I'll pass it off to Mr. Maggot. He's closer to that project than I am.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Right now, it's internal focus. We want to try and make sure we have the management tools in place to be able to effectively know where our equipment is, make sure we're doing the right winter activities at the right time. It is our intention to roll that out further to staff for frontline support, such as customer service and yourself as members of council, SMT, so they are also aware of the ongoing winter activities that have such a big, broad community impact. It is our intention at some point when it's when the bugs are worked out, if you will, to roll it out to the public. So if they have a need to schedule their outings during a winter event, they're aware of the activities that the town's putting on to make sure the roads are safe.
Thank you very much. I think that's a great initiative. And yes, our CAO, Mr. Valchich, what would you like to add to that?
Madam Chair, just to sort of build on that a little bit, because I think you've raised a really, really important point. I think this goes generically to a general direction that we're moving in to make more and more sort of information readily available on a self-serve basis to residents or interested parties in terms of data and information that the town may have. So this dashboard is and sort of status report on what's the status of snow clearing and roads during a snowstorm is a great example. And there's going to be many others that we might want to, that we are looking at over time. And these things take quite some time, but you know, one might want to know where is the garbage truck that's coming into my area, or where's the recycling truck, or different things that might be interesting. Because I don't know about anyone else, but in my own area, sometimes it comes at 7:30 in the morning. The odd time it'll be 2 in the afternoon, and I'm wondering, oh, did I pick the wrong day to put my stuff out, or is it on its way somewhere en route, or is it broken down? So there's so many options for us as we build out our information systems to create self-serve options for residents. And I think Mr. Maggot and his team have got some incredible tools here that they've implemented and they're working with.
Thank you very much for that additional information. It's exciting to know that there are ways that we're improving communications as well as efficiency, and therefore likely cost savings in the long run. So thank you very much for those updates. And yes, Councillor Roy DeClemente?
Thank you. I appreciate Mr. Maggot for coming forward to reiterate what was already in his report regarding the dashboard. What I'm wondering is if there is a better mechanism for us to help the public resolve their questions, because quite frankly, I try very hard not to call Mr. Maggot every time I get an email or a phone call from a resident about snow clearing, because the reality is the plows are on their way. It's going to happen. It'll eventually happen. If not, Mother Nature will melt it. But is there a mechanism that allows for us to not just call you at 7:30 in the morning whenever we get bombarded with residents? Is there something that we can say or do other than what I do, which is they're coming. It snowed a lot.
Through Madam Chair. Full credit to our corporate communications team here. We're doing an enhanced social media campaign when we're deploying assets, let them know what's happening. We're also going as far as meeting with customer service staff. We're onboarding some future staff shortly, and we're going to be part of that discussion so we can meet with them directly and make sure customer service staff are aware of what activities we do and what our typical response is to winter maintenance. So if we can address the call immediately with residents and provide them good, timely information when we can. If it's a large event, we're making sure the social media sites and our website is updated as briefly as possible, and to make sure the information's out there and available.
So really what it is instead of calling your counselor, please call customer service. Thank you.
Ultimately, they're probably more informed about daily operation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maggot. And are there any other questions from members of committee? Seeing none, I'll ask our General Manager, Molinari, if he would like to make any statements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing further at this time.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add that I find it very helpful when we have our expert staff here that you can provide us with the verbal information, and it leads to other questions and conversation. Not all members of the public have the time to read through hundreds of pages of reports for a committee of the whole, and so for those who are watching at home at a later day or time, I think it's very helpful to have these verbal updates from our expert staff. So Councillor Roy DeClemente moved this. Can I have a vote? All those in favor? Thank you very much, and that is passed. And so if there are no further questions or comments from our General Manager of Engineering and Public Works, I will then pass the chair back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We are now under Development Services with Councillor Roy DeClemente in the chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had 2 items on our agenda. We've already dealt with item J1. And so the next item on our agenda is a Development Services Memorandum, which is a proposed zoning bylaw amendment application for 18642 Leslie Street, which is the file ZBA 2025-09. Mr. Krupnik, would you care to add anything to this memorandum?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I would add is that Council has also seen a public meeting on this item, not on this item, apologies, but on a related item. There was an official plan application on the site as well. This is now the zoning bylaw amendment application that is also required on this site. So there will be another public meeting related to the zoning bylaw amendment coming before Council as well. Thank you.
So this is a convergence of the 2 processes.
Through you, Madam Chair, this application is acting as a resubmission of the official plan amendment and of the first submission of the zoning bylaw amendment application.
Okay, thank you. Members of committee, any questions or comments? I should probably ask for a mover to receive this. Moved by Mayor Haxon, thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments? Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Happy to receive the report, but the overall application seems like it's somewhat problematic. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the correct page here.
172.
Yes. When we zoomed back and forth, it wasn't on the right page. I'm wondering if we can talk about the density of this property?
Mr. Krupnik?
Through you, Madam Chair, if you're asking about density, the proposed density on the site is the density is 92 units per hectare. That's kind of a density amount per hectare, although units is 40 units for the entirety of the site.
And how does that compare to what our official plan says for that area?
Through you, Madam Chair, so our official plan speaks to permitted maximum density of 32 units per hectare for these lands.
So this is about 3 times what is proposed. And there's no way for this to connect up to anything else. The hammerhead seems very problematic. I'm imagining a Uber Eats and an Amazon truck meeting on that road and wondering how residents would ever get in and out. Yeah, or if somebody wants to play road hockey. I'm wondering if there's any chance of it connecting up to something else in the future, so we can get rid of that hammerhead.
Mr. Krupnik?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's certainly information that I can communicate to the applicant. It would, of course, involve them working with neighboring property owners. So I'll put that forward to them and see if they've had those conversations, and if they haven't, if they can have those conversations.
Okay, and does this density compare to anything else that we currently have in EG?
Through you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I think I would be kind of spitballing if I would just guess, but you know, it's just north also of the Sharon Vitt condo building as well. That's I believe 5 stories on Leslie. So certainly doesn't. I don't believe it compares in density, but this is transitioning down from that density to the village core.
And how many parking spots per unit?
Have they got that granular, Mr. Krupnik?
Through you, Madam Chair, we do have that information. I just may not have it available in front of me presently.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think I am getting a little bit granular for this just being an introductory memo, but I just wanted to make the point from first glance at this, that this seems to have a lot of different problems for me. It's not really what we want to see in our community with that right in, right out, hammerhead, very narrow, not a lot of parking. I would need more information before I would feel comfortable with something like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Foster, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first thing that popped out to me after the 3 times the units that we were just talking about, we just received a report about a winter update, and I look at the artist's renderings of this place and I think, oh wow, with a couple of good snowfalls, this one's going to be a mess. And it's referred to as a private road, so I understand that would be different than our condo situation that we're in, but I'm wondering how much of that stuff may fall in the same. Is there room for the garbage truck to turn around? Is there room for all that kind of thing? And again, I'm not looking for an answer right now. This is just an introductory memo, but those are the things that kind of come to mind.
Go ahead.
And through you, Madam Chair, certainly those things will have to be evaluated in this process. Our engineering staff will have their say on this. Some of the services may be private, such as winter maintenance, but still in terms of turning movements, those would have to be evaluated. Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Crone, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just throw my voice into this as well. I look at this and the density just makes me claustrophobic thinking about it. It's, the comments that Councillor Foster just made were top of my mind, with snow removal, parking, and with the garbage collection. You know, we've had issues with that in other developments, and I think we'd be making the same mistakes again. This is too dense in my opinion, and it needs a rejig, but I'll leave that. I know we're early, so I'll hold my comments there, but that's my early editorial.
Mr. Krupnik, would it be appropriate in this process for us to, in receiving your memorandum, for us to give some preliminary feedback, given that we've already had a public meeting for the OPA, to say that council would give direction or request that you work with them to reduce the density? And in my mind, it was also just have a bit more regard for the heritage character of the neighborhood. From an architectural standpoint, the drawings that have been submitted to us are very modern, and I don't see how they're going to even look nicely with the heritage house that they're looking to retain. So would that be appropriate for us to give you that feedback at this point, or should we be waiting until the public meeting? I don't want to get us too far down the road if council's not having an appetite.
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't think it would be detrimental to the process. Certainly, we are going to have a public meeting in which this feedback is going to be welcome at that point in our planning process. But if you are open to providing that feedback at this point, being that they have resubmitted as well for the OPA, now we're seeing a ZBA, I can communicate that there are some changes such as architectural changes that have taken place, as well as some reduction in height from 3.5 stories to 3 stories. So certainly if there's further comments or feedback that you want to provide at this time as well, I can pass that along to the applicant, and I think it would help their process in terms of their project development.
Mayor Haxon, this is your motion. Would you be open to amending your motion to provide some feedback to staff for the application?
I'm pleased to listen to what we have heard so far, and I'm not sure if there's others that are in the same position that I am. It seemed it needed a little sprucing up. And I'm not sure whether we should be doing it today or send it back to staff and see what they might be able to do with it.
So I have a motion right now from you that we just receive this memorandum. Are you okay to just receive, or do you want to add more?
I'm fine with that. I know that staff are here listening, and perhaps we'll take another look at it as we move forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I certainly will add my voice to this. This is, in my mind, it's planning in isolation. It doesn't have a mind for. It's basically just trying to squeeze as many properties onto a tiny piece of land as possible, and doesn't really have a neighborhood community or any of those aspects. And I don't see how you can have a right-in, right-out circumstance there. We've already got problems on Leslie being a busy street with people making U-turns down by the Children's Center, as well as trying to find any way to get their Tim Hortons fix at Green Lane. I would really hesitate to even approve a right-in, right-out. I don't see how that can even function. So I guess at this point we will receive the memorandum, but certainly, Mr. Krupnik, you've heard some members of committee today with their feedback, so I hope that is helpful in your discussions as this process moves forward. So anything further on this matter? Seeing none, I have a motion from Mayor Haxon that we receive the memorandum. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Mr. Krupnik, anything further to add at this time?
No, thank you very much for your input, members of council.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from you guys? Seeing none, I'll turn the chair back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. There's no items listed under agenda items K through N. Are there any updates to share under these headings? Seeing none, I will move on to item O, and that would be other business. Item K is administration with myself in the chair. There is none at this time. Item L. Other business, upcoming council workshop, September 3rd, 2025. Refer to staff to confirm the topic. They can be helpful with that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just wanted to confirm that the topic for the upcoming September 3rd workshop will be the revised sign bylaw. And just wanted to also make a note that prior to the workshop being held, individual ward meetings are also going to be scheduled with all members of council. So stay tuned for those invitations in your calendars.
Thank you. With that, item P, if I could have a mover, be it resolved. Thank you, Councillor Crone. All in favor? And that's carried.